Okay, so right now we're just going to quickly go over for loops in Java. So as you can see here, a for loop is usually the proper loop when you know exactly how many times you're going to loop through the code. So while loop is for an arbitrary amount of times, you don't know. So this is the general syntax. We're going to do for statement 1, statement 2, statement 3. Statement 1 is going to be executed one time before we start executing what's in the loop block. So usually what goes in statement 1 is the initialization of your loop variable. Usually we use I for index. Second statement is going to be your conditional, so it needs to return it needs to be an expression that returns a a Boolean value. So usually we use that loop value and compare it to something, and as long as that's true, we keep running our loop, and if that's not true, we're going to stop running our loop. And statement 3 is going to be something that happens at the end of every loop. So usually what happens is we're going to add 1 to this first value and like iterate to the next value. So usually create a variable, change that variable, check whether that variable is still true, and that will just repeat until it's not true, and then it will exit. So let's look at an example here. This is a very basic example. So as you can see, we're going to start our for loop by initializing the variable I. We're going to set it equal to 0. Next one is going to be our condition. We're going to say we're going to run this loop as long as I is less than 5. So this one's going to run as long as it's less than 5. And then here we're going to say at the end of each time we go through this, we're going to add 1 to I. So here you can take a guess at how many times it's going to run. It's actually going to run 5 times. Once when I equals 0, once when it equals 1, once when it equals 2, once when it equals 3, and once when it equals 4. When it equals 5, it's going to check if it's less than 5. It's going to say no, it's not, and it's going to exit the loop. So let's run it and see what happens. Yes, so each time it's going to print out I. So it's going to print out 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is 5 numbers to represent the 5 times that this ran. So another use of for loops is to iterate through an array. That's a real common one. So let's look at this example. So here I have a string array called example R, and it's going to have one element that says I, one element that says love, and one element that says Java. So here I'm going to iterate through this. I'm going to declare my loop variable. We saw that in the previous one, I equals 0. I'm going to say I is less than example R dot length. So what this is going to do, example array dot length, this is a built-in property of the array, and it's going to return the length. So we have 1, 2, shoot. 1, 2, 3 elements in this array, so this is going to be equal to 3. So while I is less than 3, and I plus plus. So it's going to run 0, 1, and 2. Because on the third time, it's not going to be less. And then we're just going to print out that element. So we have that element with a space, and I fill it in with whatever's there. So we run that, and it says I love Java, because first iteration we print this, second iteration we print this, and third iteration we print this. Alright, that's it for Java for loops.